Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our June 2016 customer webinar. Today, Jon Winters, Product Architect for BLOX Total CMS, and Rich Griffin, Product Manager for BLOX Live Editions, will walk us through some of the newest and most exciting changes in these products, including a new Live Editions Wireframe View and Page Tracker, and new advertising opportunities for Live Editions. In the room, we also have Paige Ruba, Marketing Specialist, and I'm Aaron Gillette, Director of Marketing at townnews.com. We'll cover the formal presentation in about 30 minutes, after which we'll take questions. At any point during the presentation, you can type a question into the chat box, but we'll hold off on answering them until the very end of the show. With that, I'm going to pass it to Rich and Jon to introduce us to what's new in Live Editions and Total CMS. Take it away, Jon. Take it away, Rich. Sorry.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Get the slide. Okay, we've added some banner ad support in our Flex Live Edition platform. This is going to be able to be used with our BLOX Ad Manager, OAS ads, as well as Google DFP. We've added 2 banner ad positions per segmented page, so this will be especially useful to those people that are taking advantage of Live Editions through the automatic segmenting with Total CMS. We did additionally add a pop-up position that can be used, but I think that most people are going to find the banner ads less intrusive and less annoying to readers, the end readers. Potentially here, for properties that pay, there's a potential here for properties that actually pay for their Live Edition with the ad revenue, and depending on traffic and CPM, there's potential for more than just paying for your processing costs, but you can also make some money on it. A brief example, if a site that has 250,000 unique page views per month, if you're populating both ad positions, that's 500,000 ads. Examples, if you're getting $1.50 per CPM, we're talking $750 per month potential there for that user. I've looked at some of the stats, and a lot of our bigger properties are, north of 500,000 page views per month, so there's quite a bit of potential there, so that's really exciting. Next. Additionally, we've added some features that add value for advertisers purchasing ads in the print product. These are most useful for these to take advantage of automatic segmenting through Total CMS. Although people that are manually segmenting pages, which there are some, they can use a lot of these features as well. These include link extraction from cutout assets. This is an automated process coming from Total CMS, and when pages are pushed from Total CMS to the Live Edition product, we automatically extract any URLs that are in that ad and make them available to the user to click on. That is available now. We have a feature that's coming soon that's in QA currently, where we'll have the ability to map advertisers to the business directory profiles. There's an initial setup of this where you have to basically map your business directory businesses to the auxiliary IDs that they're associated with in your advertising system. But once that's set up, it's an automated process, and we can make business profile information available as I'm pointing out here in this graphic. So it ties in with business directory, and you can get directly to the business profile page from here as well. So those are some exciting changes with Live Edition that are especially useful for Total CMS customers. We have browse functionality in Live Edition, which we have the ability to browse by page, by date, and as well as section. Now this section menu is actually populated by assigning section tags to the individual pages within an edition. And now with Total CMS, we have the ability to populate those automatically coming from the system. Well, it may not be automated, you may have to actually tag the pages when you're building them, but we have the ability for that information to come from the Total CMS platform to Live Edition as well. And so I'll pass it off to Jon at this point, and he can talk a little bit about that and some new other Total CMS features.
For those of you that are here specifically because of live editions and are not familiar with BLOX Total CMS, BLOX Total CMS is kind of the print engine part of your hosted BLOX site, and we produce the Adobe InDesign pages and then can send the PDFs of those pages along with segmenting information about where the ads are on those pages to live editions. And so where Rich left us with this slide here is talking about the browsing capability, which then we can feed that from BLOX Total CMS. And so that's what we're going to talk about next. If you'll jump to the next slide. So back in Appliance 2.11 of BLOX Total CMS, we got this content types tab in the page creation settings. And to use the browse capabilities in Live eEdition, one of the setup things that has to be done is this type column over on the left should match what those page types, what they call sections inside of Live eEdition. Those things have to match, and there's no export import. They basically need to be entered here using that green plus add function. Now, that information on those content types, then we can do all kinds of things within Adobe InDesign. So we're going to look at where those things appear in InDesign and how to get them there. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that in Page Tracker, the browser interface of BLOX Total CMS, the content types for a page shows up in the edition view as being a column that you can display on what the page is. It shows up in the gallery view as tags underneath the page. And it's kind of hard to read on that wireframe view, but it actually says that that particular page is a nation page. And then in Adobe InDesign, at the upper left-hand corner of the pages in InDesign, if we know what that page type is, then we'll throw a little non-printing word up there with the list of page types for that particular page. So next slide. So where do these page types come from? Well, generally the advertising systems know what goes on individual pages. Now, of course, Newsroom can override that, but generally ads are sold based upon the page. So if somebody wants an ad on the obituary page, then it's really advertising who determines where that obituary page is. So we read that information, and then when sites are using our advertising functions to build pages to set up the publication of the edition in BLOX Total CMS, this dialog pops up, and there's a screen for every section. This is just simply a text section here. It's got things in all kinds of weird orders, but it shows the various page content types that we would have in the setup where this one was done, and then this can drive live editions, but again, it's all coming from the advertising system. So if you go to the next slide. Now, if advertising doesn't feed that information to BLOX Total CMS, then there's a couple different ways that you can go in and either change the page or tag the page so that you can facilitate the live edition browsing. Again, from that dialog in the browser interface where we had all those content types listed, we then read those into InDesign, and then somebody on a page in Adobe InDesign can choose the BLOX Total CMS menu, page content types, applied page content types, and then the list of the choices that are there. So that's one of the ways to do it. Or if you've got a multi-page document, the very next menu item that's there, it's right underneath where it says applied page content types, it says document page content types. That pulls open the same dialog that we saw in the prior suite. So let's go on to the next slide. So the other neat thing about these page content types, and some of our ad systems have supported this for some time, but now the majority of them support this, and which ones do and don't in just a few minutes. But if the page content type is being driven to us or sent to us via the advertising information, when the pages are created, if there is a page content type page design snippet, sorry about that, that matches the page content type will automatically apply those page design snippets onto the page. Or if the content type got assigned later, then a user can then go back in and choose this page context menu, place snippet, and then it'll show you the matching snippets for the type of content that that page has assigned to it. So it makes wading through the snippets a whole lot easier. In addition, next slide. I started to talk about the next thing. In addition, you can also, and you can see here in the menu how it's set up, it's conceivable, very, very conceivable, that for an individual page content type, let's say, for example, the opinion page, you might have many, many different opinion page snippets. So what we allow to have happen is that we can change the structure of the page design snippet folders such that there are folders for page content types. And so as displayed here, where a user is choosing place page design snippet, and then they're picking a page content type of front page, and then there's 4 separate front page snippets. And so when they pick any of those 4 snippets, the system will say, oh, well, this is a front page design, and so it'll mark the page content type in InDesign and Page Tracker and Live Editions as front page. And again, the names of all these things are totally up to what you and advertising want people to see on Live Editions. Nothing is hard-coded. It's all up to the site to determine. The structure of the folders to get that to work is listed on that slide. We can go on to the next slide. Now, one of the other really important things for these page content types is that you could view them as kind of a virtual page name or a virtual named page, so that instead of referring to, say, maybe sports, like this is showing as being the C section, sports can actually be a set of pages. And in my particular case here, I've got A32 and A33 as being sports, but I don't have to know that when I am working on the budget. Back in one of the prior appliance releases, we got in the budget view this ability to view pages of the budget by content type. And so we had lots of requests for people saying, well, you know, I'm the business editor. When I go look at the budget, I don't care about any of those pages other than the business pages. Well, this is how you solve that with the page content types. You make those pages that are the business pages, business page content types, and then your budget view can show just those particular kinds of pages. Go on to the next slide. So that was kind of the biggest thing in my section is the use of page content types. One of the things that we got in a prior version of Page Tracker, however, is a wireframe view. And wireframe view is incredibly useful for working with live edition segmentation because it really does show you the segments that you're going to end up with in live edition. And so to choose that when you're looking at the edition view in Page Tracker, you can go up to that menu that's circled in orange, and you can click the little checkbox for wireframes. There's a whole, or at least a large chunk of a wireframe view. They're segregated by sections. And then I've got a blow up of what one of those pages might look like. So you can see the slug and other information about the article that has each one of those segments. Great things are cutouts, and we'll talk more about cutouts here in just a minute. Let's go on to the next slide. So in a fairly recent version of the client code, we got the ability to properly segment document jumps. Now, since the beginning, we've been able to segment what we call dynamic jumps. Dynamic jumps are the kind of jumping of stories that you get when you use combine with and BLOX Total CMS, so you put 2 or more pages in the same document, or you just never split the pages apart. And any of the jumps that you're using there are really things that we're automating what Adobe InDesign is doing for us. The document jumps is where the jump part of the story is in a totally separate document. And prior to the client version 5.14.09, those document jumps didn't exist. On this second page that's showing here, this A06 page, that looks like the left 4 columns would have just been empty, and there'd be no segments there at all. It would, in essence, have been probably a cutout at best. But now it's a complete jump and takes you to the real story. And it's completely automatic. It's fully functional. We've got quite a few sites that are using it. It just works. I'm real proud of that. Also, the third kind of jump that BLOX Total CMS does is something called dead jumps. And because we do not want to encourage the use of dead jumps, besides the fact that it's pretty much impossible, we probably will never, ever support segments of dead jumps. Moving on to the next slide, talking about segmentation of ads. Now, this doesn't show the old behavior of ads. Ads used to just go across as being a cutout asset. So in Live e-edition, you click on it, and it would basically zoom into that ad. Now, with the recent change that Rich mentioned earlier, if those ads have a URL in them that connects to some site, we will then read in Live e-edition that URL and make that a clickable link. So starting with an earlier version of the client 5.14.08, those ads, if they're being fed from BLOX Total CMS, not something that's being handled outside of us, those should get sent across as an ad. And as Rich pointed out, then we're also sending an advertiser ID, and then as a setup process inside of Live e-edition's Business Directory, we should be able then to connect those ads by advertiser in BLOX Business Directory. So that's coming soon. I'm really excited about that particular thing. The first part of it is that we know these things are ads, who the advertiser is. That's working now. Let's go to the next slide. So the next slide here just simply describes the ad systems that we support and the ones that have automatic tagging. So these are just in alphabetical order: APT, PowerPlan, and PageMaster. We now support a version of ATEX format. We support Brainworks, and we have a special output from a site that uses CGI. And the very, very, very standard STS layout 8000 feeds this advertiser information, and we can also read it from vision data, although not all our vision data accounts feed to send us that information, but it's possible, and we do read it. We've got a large number of ad force sites, and those don't have that capability yet, but that's something that I expect that we're going to be adding at some point in time. Also, we have a mild 33 site, and it also does not pass to us, the advertiser. So those, as well as other things that are not ads that are not fed to us via BLOX Total CMS and some kind of publication file, require manual tagging. So here are the next slide. So because of that, back in, again, the client version 5.14.08, where we got the ad tagging, we actually built a dialog to allow ads to be tagged. And that's at BLOX Total CMS, Documents, Advertising, and Live e-edition tagging. And this is what the dialog looks like. And it's a neat little thing. It actually allows you to search for the advertiser ID. And these can be numbers, these can be names. It's however you've decided to put them together in the ad system, as well as in the Live e-edition configuration that connects to Business Directory. So, and as far as we know, there's no limit to the number of advertisers that you can see in there. And it's a neat little learning dialogue. As you start to enter some of them, they will search for others that match that what you typed in there. So we can support this tagging manually. Next slide. Okay, so in one of the earlier slides where we were talking about the wireframe view, and we were talking about looking at the segmentation. There was a large rectangle going across the top of the screen, and that was basically a cutout asset. And it would have probably been something like the page flag, like on this screen you can see this GLOBA, and that's part of the flag of that page. I think it's that global perspectives or something like that. And that may not be something that you want to actually go across to Live E-Edition as a cutout. There's really no advantage to having the users click on that and see a larger version of it. And in the past, we didn't have a version to exclude items from cutouts other than by having them be small. And there is a cutout preferences. Every site has one. They may not realize it, but every site has one. And they can control the minimum size that something has to be and still be included as a cutout. Well, if you get something large like a page flag, you click on it. You can then go to BLOX Total CMS, Story Flow Options, and exclude from cutouts, and it will not be included in the cutouts anymore. This is available now. I don't remember what version this got added there, but it's been there for some time, probably since the early 5.14 versions of the client. And you can also set these things up on snippets so that if you have something like a page design snippet and if there's blobs and stuff on the page you don't want to go to cutouts, you can preset those and they'll get saved in the snippets. It just works. Next slide. So these 4 bullet points here are basically some bugs that we fixed that had hindered the BLOX Total CMS segmentation of certain things. One of them got fixed last week. We had a client who said, if you do this, and this is what bad happens. And so when we get those kinds of information, reproducible steps, we will drop pretty much everything and fix those problems immediately. So long as you give us reproducible steps of what's going on, we'll get them fixed. All these things here came from clients except for the third one, which I actually found doing some QA testing. So let me read through these here. If you had brought in, for example, an article and it had more than one child, there was a period of time, I can't tell you when this existed, that the children weren't automatically getting placement information, and thus the Live E-Editions were missing those child assets. So we fixed that some period of time ago. Also, if you brought in merged articles and there were children on those, the children of the merge, say for example you were doing some business briefs and there was some headshot mugshots that were attached. Those weren't getting sent to Live Edition, but that's now been corrected. And then the one that I found here, if you had a very small ad that was smaller than your cutout preferences that I told you every site has, they were getting excluded because they were cutouts and they were small, and so they were not getting included as something that's clickable on the Live Edition. But now everything that's an ad that we know about goes to Live Edition, regardless of how small it is. And then very recently, had a site tell us that if they had their advertising people go in and open up the unsplit document, it was sending some new PDFs and clearing the segmented, and that's now fixed as well. So all of those things are improvements to segmentation out of BLOX Total CMS, and we think that is even more reason, if you are a BLOX Total CMS client, for you to investigate going to Live E-Edition. Our cost for the segmented users for Live E-Edition, the cost for our BLOX Total CMS users for Live E-Edition is low compared to the other segmentation services, and with the new ad revenue, it can pay for itself. So that's the segmentation stuff that is current. I'm going to preview 2 other features that's coming up for BLOX Total CMS. We'll have a BLOX Total CMS exclusive webinar in July. I think that is July 14th at the same time. And we'll talk about these features in more detail then. One of them has to do with merged asset segmentation. So if you go to the next slide for me. You can see this dialog now. It's just that it's not really tied to anything. When you go in and merge assets into a single frame, you can then go up to BLOX Total CMS details, merged asset details, and you'll get this particular dialog here. Like I said, it's not connected to anything yet, but you can, it is tracking what's merged. And then our intention is to allow sites to either have those items sent to Live Edition separately for the segment that is the merged blob, or to use a new piece of text. That we have multiple ways of creating that for what's left of the merged article. So this is coming. How that all works is still kind of up in the air, but tracking it was the first part, and we are doing that. And then we will go on forward with that and find a way to send this to BLOX to Live Edition. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, last one for me here. We've also are in the process of building a replication feature. Now this is replicating all full pages in terms of Live Edition. So it's not uncommon, for example, for there to be a site that wants to take a group of pages and send them to a different publication and to reproduce them there. And right now, that's either some copying and pasting or some save as, and then you end up with some weird things going on with the assets and how they are editable, or if they're locked because of doing all that kind of stuff. Well, replication is the cure for all those ails. And so it's going to allow you to take individual assets or entire pages of assets or entire pages and either just copy them if they're just plain assets, or to copy them and put them onto additional pages, either in the same publication, just like, for example, you want to move a story from B5 to B6. We could do that kind of thing without having to cut and paste with this replication. But we can also then replicate entire pages to a different destination document. This is going to be done by the end of June, and we'll discuss it in our next webinar for BLOX Total CMS, which is the 14th of July. So that is up for me, and I will turn it back over to Aaron.
Thanks, John. Great stuff. We've covered a lot. Ways to earn new revenue with Live Editions and some great new page content types and segmentation features. Now would be a great time for folks to type in questions into the chat box if you have them, and we'll work through them. We do have one question on merged asset segmentation. Will these features mean we no longer have to create a new article from the merged assets on the page in the e-edition workflow to get it in the river of news?
That is the plan. Indeed, that is the plan. What may go on there is it may just create that version, that copy for you, so that you don't have to go through those extra steps. And in fact, some of the ways that you can place merged assets on the page, it does make that copy for you. And that's there now if you have all the right bells and whistles clicked. But the other chance is that when we go to output that page, one of the specifications I have for that feature is some kind of dialog popping up that says, hey, there's merged asset on this page, how do you want to handle this? And the options would be either to send those as individual assets, all with the same segment, or to go in and have it create in the background this new asset, which is the one that gets tagged with the segment for that space. So it's still up in the air, but it will be done shortly, before that July 14th webinar.
Great. We don't have any other questions at this time. I'll fill a little bit of air here and let you... Another one came in. Will the new ad positions be available for Live Editions?
Yes, absolutely. They're available in the Flex platform. So ideally, if you're not on Flex yet, we can get you in the queue to move to that. If there's some reason, I guess, that if someone can't move, we can look at possibilities for Zen, but at this point we're not planning on doing that. But yeah, they're available now. That came out on the 17th. I have some documentation available already. I plan on doing a blog as part of our tips and tricks series, if not the end of this week, early next week, that will highlight some of the other segmenting options and the other types of segments of the e-edition community that can actually make use of this. And I'll link to the documentation from that, so that should answer a lot of questions as well when that comes out.
And that segues nicely into what I was going to talk about here. To stay connected with us, please make sure you're signed up for all of our newsletters. To sign up, just go to our website, townnews.com, click the news link on the menu bar, and then on the right-hand panel, you will see a Stay Connected box that allows you to select which newsletters you would like to receive. We send out these tips and tricks blog posts as part of the Town News Bulletin, so make sure that you're signed up for that. Documentation, head to help.bloxcms.com for all of the docs that we've talked about today. You can call support anytime at 800-293-9576 or visit support.townnews.com. The partner community is a great way to swap ideas with other townnews.com customers and just generally learn about all of our products. And you can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. This session has been recorded, and we will process it and post it to the website. Give us a day or two to get it processed, and when it's ready to go, we will send an announcement to the webinars list, which again is you can sign up for on the website. The announcement will go out to the webinar announcements list, and also it'll be included as part of an upcoming townnews.com bulletin. We always include our recorded webinars in our newsletter. So make sure that you and anyone else who needs to know this information is signed up for those emails. It looks like we do not have any other questions at this time. I spoke too soon. Just a quick question for the group. Would this group be interested in having a live user group meeting for live e-editions and TCMS? Would that be something that would be useful to you folks? If so, please respond in the chat box. I do have someone here saying that it couldn't hurt. So that is, yeah, that's something we're looking at possibly doing some live user groups for our various products. And if you are interested in that, please drop Rich or John or I a line and let us know what your level of interest is and what kind of content you might like to see covered in that format. I've got some folks saying that it would be great to see some live demonstrations, and that it would be fun to put John on the spot. So anyway, please let us know if that's something that would be of interest to you. Looks like we're done here, so please join us for next month's webinar. Thank you very much for your time. Talk to you later.